Hi. A pleasant day to each and every one. It's nighttime somewhere, morning time somewhere, a new day somewhere. You know what? Welcome to Mama Coco, Life and Style. Yes, my name is Cora Pantin, and with no further delay, let us get right into the show. Please stand by and welcome this young man born in Charlotteville, Tobago, but now reside in the USA. But he moves back and forth to Tobago, especially at election time. He coaches, he teaches. Please welcome Keino Sledge, and I give him another name, Hammer Beard. Welcome, Keino. Welcome, Keino. Keino, where are you?
Hey, good night. Good night.
Good night, Keino. As
Good
much
night,
as
Mama
I
Coco.
know
How are
these
you?
days are very hectic for you, you're a very busy guy these days, and I still want to thank God for making it possible that we could be here this evening. And Keino, can you welcome us in a short prayer?
Okay. I'm delighted to be here, and sure, I'll pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for your goodness. We thank you for your grace that you have bestowed on our lives. We just honor you at this moment, and we set this time aside for you for good conversation, good learning, good listening, good teaching, good everything, and goodness and mercy. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. It's awesome. It's always a pleasure for me to be in the company of anyone who can invite the Holy Spirit to
You
be
know, it says
amongst
where
us.
and it says where two or three are gathered in the midst, he is in the midst with us. So it's always important to invite divine
Yes,
presence, and I mean, and even others, even the spirits of the ancestors, and everyone. I take reference to your scarf,
yes. Thank you so much.
and the colors, and pointing to Africa, and hopefully
Yes,
tonight we can speak to us from wherever we are, and that our understandings will be enlightened, and that we can receive and try to do something with what we've learned. Try to put our learning into action, good action,
amen. Well,
and maybe
what
sometimes good trouble too, but good action and good trouble.
good action and good trouble. Nice. I could take on some good trouble right now.
Oh Lord.
Hallelujah. Yes. So many things going on around us. Here in America is fire. Not even wildfire. Fire so concentrated that it's taking over Los Angeles, taking over taking over California. Yes,
Mm.
fire. Whatever this is, oh God, I ask you to quench the fire, quench the heat. Father, a lot of people are losing everything. Some people are losing their lives. So many lives have been lost. And now we
Hmm.
have hurricanes, we have storms, we have water, we have flood. Dear God, is a lot of stuff. We have a kind of weird politics taking place here in America and across the world, where mankind doing exactly what they want and how they feel. No regard for you, oh God. And we ask for your presence. We ask for your amazing grace, your quenching, your sentencing of unguarded moments, so that your spirit will take over, that righteousness will exalt a nation, and people will know that sin is a reproach to any people. Father, this evening, with no further ado, Keino, I always feel excited and elated to have you around. You impart so much knowledge, and you impart the knowledge in grades where from the babes to the pensioner can listen, understand, absorb, and be able to do better for ourselves in
Well,
the future.
I think part of that just comes from my whole background as a teacher, and just one of the things I learned about good teaching. I'm not going to teach above the level of 14-year-old could understand. If you're 14 and under, I have to make sure that you understand what I'm saying. And I'm going to break it down um, for you
Yes.
as much as possible. So I don't want to, I'm not going to use big words to you. If I use words, I'm going to try to let you know the meaning of the word. So I'm
Yes.
gonna try to break it down so that you
Yes.
understand it. I'm not coming here to philosophize. Yeah, there's people who philosophize, and then there are people who teach. I am a teacher, and I'm very proud to be a teacher. I mean, and it runs in my family too.
Yes,
And
because your
a
mom.
quick story, not even my mom, but my grandfather's father. Okay, he was a preacher. Okay, he
Mm.
was a preacher, and his name was Rabbi. And rabbi in Hebrew means teacher. So I come
Aye.
from a line, my lineage is teaching, and I'm proud of my lineage and I'm proud of my heritage, So, and he was a preacher, but I don't consider myself a preacher. I consider myself a teacher. And,
Yes.
and teaching and a learner.
Yes.
And even
Yes.
before a teacher, a learner, and that of a lifelong learner,
Yes.
and most of the times in the last 10 years, I've mostly been working with adults. And I don't learn from adults as much as I learn from children, how then to teach adults, if you
Mm.
understand what I'm saying. Because when I'm with children, I'm learning how they're learning. So it's learning for me.
Mm.
Okay. So we'll put a pause on that. But
Yes.
just a little homage to
that song that
um
song exciting because I always say the more you teach, the more you learn.
yes, exactly. The more you teach, the more you learn. And if you could teach anything, you could really learn. You learn a lot more
A lot more.
about that subject, its depth and its nuances. You tend to learn a lot more about it. So, thank you for having me on um, tonight. And you see how easy I call them. I call them. You see how easy I call them. I went back into my lineage and I called them. So they're always with me. And just that
Ah.
his name was Rabbi, and Rabbi is Hebrew for teacher. So I really respect the teaching lineage that my family has.
Wow. So how was it? How was it for you after the last time you really came on the show? I know this is your how many trips you have now?
This is my second time here, and from the last time, I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I've just been
Mhm.
really busy, and just really busy in response to being responsive to what's currently happening in just my own professional life and my own work life, and which is sort of kind of my own, I guess, entrepreneurial life as well, my own learning life, just been a constant momentum. And I think you had sort of kind of a lot to do with that momentum. I think that the day after, I think, or 2 days after, I wrote that sometimes you have to allow people to pour water over you, and not just any water, good water.
Mm.
And I felt as though that experience from the last time and me going back and looking at it, I felt a lot of good water was poured over me. And like I mean, when the last time on the show I said, yeah, I'm very much a private person and not really outspoken publicly. I mean, I write on my wall, I rule my wall, I say anything I want on my wall, I cuss anybody on my wall and everything like that. But in terms of, just talking publicly, I more do background things and so on. But it's just been really busy and staying busy and just being very busy.
Amen. Well, I'm so happy for
Okay.
that. I'm so glad that before you came on the show, you said that you don't really tell people your business. You don't talk to people, and it was such a blessing for you to come out and speak the way you did, and a lot of people was blessed by the things you shared and by your life and your family story. your village story, your migration. So tonight we are on a different level. We are not going to go back onto that portion of the life before, except we have to, that's what I say about going back. If what you're going back for cannot help you to move forward, it's forward for me. I only look back if what I'm looking back at would educate me or direct me to make my movement forward. So, Keino, let's jump into tonight's program. Tell the audience what you hope they get out of tonight's show.
Okay, so out of tonight's show, what I want you to listen carefully. I want you to participate in the chat as much as possible. I'll try to maybe participate in the chat as much as possible, try to multitask. I tend to do a lot of multitasking, and I accomplish things when I multitask. We're gonna have a conversation that really brings us into what I would like to call a dimension of digital citizenship. And we want to look at citizenship on many different levels. And we're going to break it down. We're going to take it in bite-sized chunks. We're going to put it in some buckets that you're going to understand, so that at the end, you can really begin to have a more informed conversation about citizenship, not only what citizenship means in a national context, but citizenship also in a context of now living and working, teaching and learning and earning in the digital space, working from home. So it's that whole virtual dimension in response to this global pandemic that all over the world we are now encountering, and there is a civics that is needed for that dimension. So we're going to break that dimension down. We're going to ask questions. You can ask questions. I'm going to try to be as thematic as possible. This is not a lesson or a tutorial or whatever I would do. This is what I would do with my 7th graders or students who are in first form. This comes from the me being a social studies teacher, someone who looks at the society, someone who had the responsibility for teaching Americans about being American when I am only an American by a piece of paper and not by any sort of not by birth, not of the soil, but by law. So we're going to be looking at citizenship in that dimension as well. So we're going to be in doing that cross-cultural element, so it's a conversation for you who are here, wherever your here is, for those who are there, wherever there is, for those of us who live this transnational, migratory, I like to say a Rolling Stone type of life, and it's a social studies lesson. And I think that's me at one point at my very best.
Wow. So you here to break things down.
We're here to teach.
Yes.
Teaching and learning.
Yes.
Okay, so are we ready to start? Any other questions before we go? Let me get some water.
So we have a 4 dimension of digital citizenship here. That you will break down a little.
Yes, let me put these slides up a little bit bigger for you. Okay, so we're going to be talking tonight about the 4 dimensions of digital citizenship. And what exactly that means, we'll get into that. And by the time we're finished, you'll probably figure out that there are probably more than 4 dimensions. But in the time frame that we have tonight, we're only going to be looking at 4 dimensions. So you can move on. Let's go on to the next slide. So before we begin, let's get our thinking caps on, and I want to bring you into present context. The year is 2020. It's really a year. It was supposed to be the year of so much. It's the year of very good vision, based on what we are seeing, what numbers mean, so if we thought about numbers, if you go to you have 2020 vision, but what the year has presented to us, that hasn't been the case. So whatever our present reality is, and that is the global reality, because we live in a global world, and I'll tell you a quick story about that shortly as I begin to shape the context. So just think about this year, 2020. Think about the pandemic, which is the biggest thing this year, coronavirus. All across the world, radically changed our lives in so many dimensions. So irrespective of where you are, here, there, everywhere, tonight we're meeting in this digital space. So we are talking to everyone. So any questions before we move on there, Mama Coco?
For me, I would like it to break down, because the normal layman will just know citizens mean you live in some place and you are of that place either by naturalization or by birth. So can you explain to the people what citizenship means different from that?
Absolutely. So citizenship, the basic understanding that we have of citizenship is a legal aspect of citizenship, and that's the first thing I want us to understand tonight, that our first and foundational understanding of citizenship, what we understand, so imagine the foundation, what we know about citizenship is it's a legal thing. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. You were born in Trinidad and Tobago. That makes us citizens of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Somebody born in Grenada is a citizen of Grenada. Somebody born in the United States is a citizen of the United States. So there's citizenship by birth. And that's what we mostly understand about citizenship. And the Latin concept for it is called jus soli, and it means of the soil. So when we say we neighbor string berry here in Tobago, that is what we mean by we're from here, that we're from this space of the soil. Okay, and that's the legal dimension of citizenship. So maybe when we talk about, when we neighbor stringberry here, we're probably looking at maybe a cultural dimension of citizenship in our individual village lives and the things and traditions that we do. But we'll get to the social dimension right now. But our basic understanding is my passport, which, because I am a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, I have access to a passport that allows me in and out of the country. Right now, our borders are closed. We'll get to that when we start to talk about geography and movement. Okay, any questions before we move on about the political and legal aspect of citizenship?
Well, take for instance, I am a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, and so are you and many other people on the line. Is there any way we can lose our rights as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago?
So there is no way you can give up your citizenship, but I think that's an unwise thing to do, and for a person like myself, go ahead.
I mean to say, if for some reason the state itself, Trinidad and Tobago, can take away a citizen's right to be a citizen of the country.
No, you really cannot take away a citizen's rights. They can give it up voluntarily, but you cannot take away a citizen's right. It's enshrined in the Constitution. And one of the things that as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, we need to understand our constitutional rights. That's the first thing that we need to understand on the political dimension of citizenship. What are our constitutional rights? So the right to free speech is a constitutional right. The right to freedom of expression is a constitutional right. All of these are political and legal rights of citizens. So freedom of speech, freedom of expression, okay, freedom of movement, is also a right in the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And those rights are enshrined. You're born with them. God gave them to you, and they cannot be taken away from you.
So, so when people telling me, Cora, be careful, just know you might be able to come back home in Trinidad and Tobago because of what you say about the governance and the president, or if I ask a question, they might charge me for sedition and I can't come back home. Are they right to say those things to me?
No, I think most people, that is because we are not aware of our constitutional rights. The freedom of speech means freedom of speech. You know, if you're literate and you understand what freedom of speech means freedom of speech. That means you're not going to yell fire in a movie theater. Okay, you have a responsibility for that. But freedom of speech means freedom of speech. I mean, people can victimize you, okay? But victimization is a whole different thing, okay? People can victimize you, and most people who are worried about fear are worried about a dimension of victimization, a dimension of oppression, a dimension of injustice that we're not probably going to get there tonight. But what we can say is the Constitution of whether it's the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Constitution of the United States guarantees citizens the right to freedom of speech, freedom of expression. These are political rights. These are legal rights. And yeah, we have court clues, and we could go in court and defend it. And the sedition laws, one of the things about sedition laws, let's switch to Barbados for a minute. I saw something today in regards to Barbados, and Barbados moving to become a republic. Okay, meaning that the Queen, Elizabeth, God save the Queen, living 92 years old. We sing it and confess it every day. She's still living and reigning. She is still the governor, the republic. She's still like our president. She is the head of state of Barbados, represented by a governor general. Remember when we had Ellis Clark?
Yes.
Before, again, and these are all dimensions, the political dimension. So we need to understand our idea of citizenship and civic. It needs to be really taught in the school from this level to say, you know what, you can say what you want to say. I mean, you can say it politely. You know, I think there's an element of our culture that we could say what we want to say, and we could do anything what we want to do, and it just come over sometimes real raw and so on. So when we're ready to cuss the government, we cuss in the government, you know, but we can speak from a place of information. We can speak from a place of facts. We can speak from a data-driven place to present our, what you call it, present our case. And even if it's a case for the minority, even if it's a case against the grain, even if it's something that other people don't want to hear, the right to free speech is a constitutional right. It's the first, in the United States, we call it the First Amendment.
Yes.
So the newspaper can publish what the newspaper wants to publish.
Yes.
Okay? You understand? And sedition charges. There were times in the second president of the United States, John Adams. He was president at the time. There was something called the Alien and Sedition Acts. Okay? And the alien, okay? So for example, I remember when I got my green card, you know what it said on it? It said a resident alien. Yeah, the term, a resident alien. You know, and in about the 1790s, there was something called the Alien and Sedition Act. Okay? And the sedition is you can't really criticize the government. Well, if we don't have the ability to criticize the government, and the government is not doing the right thing, hello?
How would you get
you're violating the Constitution. You see, yes. And one of the things that we've been schooled in Trinidad and Tobago is not the Constitution of the state. We've been schooled in our party constitutions.
Oh.
You understand? So sometimes you go to a political thing, the first thing they want to put you is the Constitution. And a lot of organizations are being crippled because they have poor leadership and they're always focused on the Constitution as opposed to going and looking at the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution, whether it's of the United States or the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. So we can say what we want to say. You know, I mean, you have to know when to be respectful. At times, you can't just cuss up people, but sometimes people need to get cussed up too. But let's continue. So, very complex idea of citizenship, and we just touched on one dimension.
One dimension, but you hit us with so many human rights, so many human rights pieces there that people really need, physics need to come back.
You see, and at the bottom of it is fundamental basic human rights, human dignity and human respect. Okay, and in regards to the political arrangements that we make for being able to live in peace, being able to live in safety, being able to live in security, we give up some rights as well too. Okay, but the right to free speech in democracies is very important. So those of you who say, oh, Cora, don't worry, people used to tell me that too, but I know where I'm coming from. I didn't go under the school. I went in the school and I went into plenty school. And I understand the concept of citizenship. And if we have a problem with the school, let me go in the courthouse as well too.
That's right.
Because we're talking about legal and law, and any lawyer could come, let me go in the courthouse and we could defend freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of association, you know, freedom of religion. What about
the freedom? What about under what chapter and what rule? Because, you know, since Mr. Trump came into power, we recognize it now that some of the things in America, they are not laws, they were just rules. Because a lot of things that we believe it was law, he came now and he's showing us, hey, that's not a law, there is no law. We just didn't do it because we practiced not to do it. It was just a rule. But also there is the rule of law. And in Trinidad and Tobago, all kinds of laws turn up nowhere. We can't even assemble. We can't even assemble. They're saying we can't march. Yes, it's okay. We need permission to march. But even to assemble in a group, they're telling you, no, you can't be more than 10. You can't be, not because of COVID. I'm talking about natural, because I watch certain things happen when Watson Duke was trying to get into Scarborough.
Yes.
In a walk.
So part of, and I was on that walk as well too. I was on that walk. So one of the things is the concept of, we have to understand where our jurisprudence comes from. Okay, and jurisprudence, I'm not a lawyer, but I know what jurisprudence means, of the law and so on. And we have to understand sometimes there's convention in law, there's tradition in law, and you have to understand how the law responds to our culture. So we're hitting on the cultural dimension of citizenship as well too. So we're coming out from a British tradition. So imagine African and Indian people in a British tradition. Okay, people who are culturally African,
that's right, where is culture?
Indian, and they're now living under a civil code that is English. Okay, so if we have to now go back into history and understand how our culture and how our legal aspect shapes our overall, how things play out in various locales. Okay, shaped by forces of one, slavery. So imagine under a system of slavery, okay, how did you think of citizenship during slavery? Slaves were not citizens. Slaves were property. You understand? So no citizenship for you. But now you are out of slavery, but we still need to find a way to control you as a people. Okay, So we come and have in America, we would have they call it Jim Crow laws, you know, because after slavery, what happened? You had slaves who were emancipated from plantations, given the right to vote, which is one of the rights as a citizen, the right to vote. Voting is a legal thing. Look how seriously we do it in Trinidad and Tobago. The one day of the year where I can't buy rum, the one day of the year where our culture known for its consumption of alcohol, you know, our culture known for being ashamed of our alcoholics, our culture known for everything we do rum involved in it, you understand? But on that one day every 5 years or every 4 years in Tobago, we can't buy rum, we can't drink
until 6 p.m.
Until 6 p.m. You understand? You know, so imagine things. Remember, there's in some places there were laws where you couldn't sell liquor on a Sunday.
There was a time. And you know another thing that you can't do? You can't politicking.
Well,
you can't.
That comes down to the right of the freedom to assemble. Okay, freedom of expression and the freedom to assemble, to congregate, just like how church could congregate. You understand the congregation?
Yes.
You know, people are allowed to congregate. I mean, now given COVID, there are public health guidelines that are saying let's socially distant right now, and we'll get into that. But the right to congregate, the right to express themselves. So even when you don't want when you have to get permission to march, okay, that is a very British thing coming out from you want your workers in control. Who do you get to control? You have to police your workers, because if your workers are on strike, your economy gets shut down. You understand? So you need a police force over the workers. Before they were workers, they were slaves. So you had lords and masters you had overseers and slave masters over them. So now we have workers. You need some sort of force that is in direct collaboration with the state. So there you have your police and your military, which have two very different functions. You understand? And we're still here under the political and legal dimensions of citizenship. So like the army can't arrest you, but the police can. You understand? Maybe there has to be a special law for the army to begin to detain people. You understand? And so on. But I think we probably have a good, solid understanding of the legal and political aspect of citizenship.
I think the army could detain you, but they can't lay charges on you.
Well, they probably can detain you
because
maybe
we
for,
have because we have
citizens.
Because even citizens could perform an arrest.
Citizens
detain
arrest,
you, yes, until the police comes.
Citizens arrest.
Yes, so I think the army could arrest you, but they can't charge you.
And so all of these are legal stuff. Anytime you hear courthouse, legal stuff. And you know, it's so interesting that, you know, I remember growing up in a village, and I think it was first Fridays of every month.
Mondays have the courthouse. Anyway,
courthouse come. You understand? And people used to go courthouse, but we go in courthouse to Mako. We go in courthouse to know who child gain mining courthouse, as opposed to knowing.
Learn.
You understand? So we like judicial bacchanal. That's how we're gonna call it. Judicial bacchanal, whereby you're in your village, man and mining a child, and you have to put them in courthouse. And you could make, you know, them again raising courthouse. That is what we know courthouse for, as opposed to understanding the legal dimensions of courthouse. So we all need courthouse clothes, and we should go sometimes and listen.
What I was saying, Avanel Hazel is saying the Constitution needs a whole overhaul.
I do believe so. I think we're ripe for a period of constitution reform in Trinidad.
Yes, we come into that. And what you were saying there is that we're not going to the courthouse to know why this man have to pay money. Should he be taking care of his kids before this woman take him to court? Was she right to take him to court? But the way how we grow up in our culture, we start formulating confusion before we come to the conclusion of what really taking place. That these kids that he's not taking care of, they ain't having food, they can't get school books, they're going to school barefooted, and all these are the things that we supposed to get out of going to the courthouse, but we don't get that. What we get is the commerce, as you said.
Yeah, we like that kind of thing. That's what the culture gives to us.
So we go in now,
That is what
citizenship is a complex idea.
you understand? And we just did one level. So this is the
One level.
basement. This is the basement of the house or the foundation.
Foundation.
Okay. Now, above that, in functioning as a citizen, you have rights. Okay. And this could lead over to the economic and financial aspects of citizenship. Okay. And we're talking about your job, your ability to make money, your ability to make a living, your ability to engage in commerce, your ability to buy, sell, and trade. These are all the aspects of the economic aspects of citizenship. So just imagine.
And you would be going into lands too, like property, owning property,
owning property.
Time.
It could be that could be owning property as well too. So for example, in Tobago, I remember at one point there when I was a journalist, I did something on the land license regime and who could buy land in Tobago and not if you're born here, there's a whole big bacchanal in regards to that land thing. But let's just put a pause on that land thing there. But in regards to the economic and financial dimension of citizenship, talking about jobs, how much you earn, and all kind of things like that. Imagine when you now leave your country and come to the United States, okay? And that whole concept of what we know as being undocumented. We know what it is. Your papers and straight. We all know what's that like. And we live with the repercussions of that. That's the economic implications of citizenship, because citizenship in a country have rights. When I travel to Trinidad and Tobago and I enter on an American passport, you know what it stamps in my American passport?
Visitor.
Prohibited from employment. Prohibited from employment. Okay? When I come to the United States, when I enter the United States, I can't use my Trinidad and Tobago passport. You understand? So now I live a life of being a dual citizen. You understand? So living in both places, being able to live in both places. When I enter Trinidad and Tobago, I enter with my Trinidad and Tobago passport.
I know that way.
You understand? However, as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, I don't work for nobody down there. If I'm down there, I work for myself. But I'm legally entitled to work. When I go to St. Vincent, I'm not legally entitled to work. I just do volunteer work because I'm not a citizen and it's stamped in my passport, prohibited from working. I'm sure if I go to the St. Vincent immigration, there would be some sort of permit, not using my American citizenship, but using my being part of now the Caribbean community, which gives you the right to live and work in some places within the Caribbean.
Like
so that's
Guyanese,
the economic aspect.
Like Guyanese can work in Trinidad and Tobago?
Yes, I'm not really 100% sure on if they can, but I mean, I know within the Caribbean community, there are people from other islands that legally work in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
I could make a bacchanal over that one time, but I'm going to leave that alone.
Oh, Lord. Yes.
Okay, so that is the economic and financial aspect of citizenship. You have to work off the books, okay, and so on.
So is the government of Trinidad and Tobago entitled to employ all its citizens or provide a workforce?
So that's another interesting idea. Okay, about the right to, and it's there's in some places there's something called the right to work. And if you listen to Joe Biden, everybody vote Democrat in November, straight down the ticket. We got to put Trump out.
Okay.
That's just the plug for that. Um, However, you hear Joe Biden talk
His
about
views.
work. You hear he talks about work brings dignity to us. Okay, that the work that we do brings dignity to us. So the government doesn't have the obligation to give everyone a right to a job or a right to employment. And coming down on this cultural aspect, when culture goes wrong, you understand, which more becomes a matter of socialization. Okay, again, connecting to the social dimension of citizenship there. Remember, give me a walk, give me a walk, give me a walk. I come for this walk. Kind of thing. And then we also have a very informal kind of culture of work in our culture in Trinidad and Tobago. But the thing is, work supposed to bring dignity to our lives. And it's not the work you do, but it's being engaged in production. And it's not Sunday school, but if you go back to the whole concept of being fruitful and multiply, occupying time, do something, engage in something, engage the marketplace. That's what we mean. Again, coming back to this whole concept of economic citizenship, economic connection of citizenship. Okay, so we did the P, which is political. We did the E, which is economic. Let me look at it in another way. Think of I work in the edtech field, in the edtech industry, and a lot of the developers are people who come to the United States on visas. Okay, because in India and China and Asia, you have a billion people in talent. Okay, and if you think you smart, there are 100 Indians smarter than you because there are so many more Indians in the world. Okay, so
That's
it's not
right.
a matter of your education, it's just a matter of the numbers. They scale
Yeah.
up more on us. So if you think you want to cut style on something, 5 Indians in India, okay, let's just be clear about that. Who I'm talking about, I'm not talking about people below the Karuni, if you understand what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Indians from India with J1V coming into the United States to fill talent that Americans don't have. All the tech talent in Silicon Valley, all what's going on in Seattle, Washington. And I've been fortunate, privileged in some sense because of the work that I do in education to be exposed to that, particularly out in Seattle. And they're the ones who are making and shaking that place. So that's an economic aspect of they can get the right to work because they have skills and they have talent that is needed in the American marketplace. So Americans need to skill up. We have an obligation to skill up because digital is where we're going, and we're going to get into that digital dimension. And Trinidad and Tobago has a responsibility to skill up as well because citizenship now is going in the global dimension.
Mm. I didn't know that there was a visa available for skills.
Yes, skills.
Yes, like a doctor, PhD student abroad would apply for a visa and get it faster than you and I who
Yes,
here and
yes.
apply for yes.
Because there's a critical talent shortage. And I remember I had to take a radical turn in what I was going after and what was going to be valuable in the marketplace. And I decided to go after what was valuable in the marketplace. There was a lot more complications, but I don't regret that because being knowledgeable about what's driving the digital economy is very helpful for me.
So you gave up on dreams before that you had because
Yes,
you had an insight of what is going to take the 21st
of
century.
what's
What's
coming.
coming?
And like, I mean, and even like if I knew, like right now I'm in a data science program working to become a certified data scientist and everything like that. So really dealing with algorithms and data and just managing all the data that, like right now we're speaking, this conversation is going to be memorialized for eternity. Okay, however long eternity is. Okay, and
That's right.
somebody 3,000 years from now is gonna figure out how the civilization that we are being part of, the
Yes.
society that we are shaping now, and every minute we are contributing to data. And we need people to be able to manage all of that data, to organize that data, to find insight from that data. And here, what there people are trading in data now. And what data is the new oil. That's what they're saying. Data is the new oil, because you can extract so much out of it. You can extract so much out of it. And what got me on this path was in 2017 when I went to Tobago I went to 5 days and ended up spending 18 months. I started a drone company, co-founded a drone services company. And we were getting pictures. And to tell you sometimes how when I talk about development, I says it's our minds that need development. When we initially started flying our drone, started flying our drone, people were saying we're flying to Mako. You understand? We're flying to Mako.
You
And
started
it
it
was
in
the first
Charlotteville?
in Charlotteville. In Charlotteville, we were flying our drone. And we would get so much data points from our drone. And we began to monitor. We said we could begin to turn this into digital products and monetize it. And from that experience, we started a aerial data processing and analysis company. Okay. And this was just to manage hundreds of pictures where you're getting the latitude and longitude points from. Okay. So here we're going into our movement of geography. So understanding latitude and longitude, I'm sure you all remember latitude and longitude.
I remember that in high
This is
school.
as the crow flies. As the crow flies.
And guess who we learned that from? Our Prime Minister.
Yes, as the crow flies.
Yes,
okay.
He was a
So
geography. He was the geography teacher.
The data that that you're getting. Okay. So here are the industries that we now apply all of our just flying the drone in, and people think we were just flying to Makoda. You understand? Oil and gas, construction, surveying, communications, agriculture, mines and quarries, public utilities, tourism and advertising. We're doing all sorts of things, just with the data that we're getting from our drone, turn it into maps, just doing all of that. And it takes a lot of learning. You understand? And it's not the learning in the sense that we have boxed learning into schooling. Schooling is not learning. So let's just get ourselves unboxed and de-entangle ourselves from that schooling and learning. They're two very, 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 very different things. I'm talking about learning, not schooling. Okay? And I'm not going to tell you that secret. I'll save the secret for the end. Remind me about the secret for the end. So make sure people stay till the end. Okay? So I think we covered the political, economic, and geography. Just has to do with movement. Okay? And if we now go back 400 years ago. Okay?
One question in between.
Sure.
Because of citizenship and citizenry, can a country survive without agriculture?
Well, you're Mama Coco, you're really, really allowing me to focus, and you're really driving this this conversation. I'll tell you right there. Let me just fix these slides better.